Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this live Q&A session. I'm Sakshi. I'm the founder of Scholarship Track, and these are our panelists from today. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Like your name and the company you're representing?
Hi everyone. My name's Divya, and I'm representing Facebook.
Mhm.
Sure. So I'll go next. I'm Kunal. I'm from Amazon. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Ivy. I'm representing Apple.
Hi guys, I'm Leanne. I'm representing Google.
Hi everyone, I'm Rujita. I'm representing Netflix.
Thank you so much, all of you, for joining. So everyone, you can start posting your questions in the comments. For this session, we are just taking questions from the comments. We are not having any fireside Q&A or anything. And one of them will start answering your questions. So let's get started. You can all start posting your questions in the comments. So until people ask their questions, okay, we already have one. Here. Of course, this is a very obvious question. How do you prepare for interviews?
Okay, yeah, I can start answering that question. So I think the most important thing is that you really want to make sure that your understanding of data structures and algorithms, I feel like, is pretty clear. I think those are the two most important subjects in computer science, because for me, that's what I did. I learned those in class, obviously, but then I also self-studied them, and like basic algorithms you should know and be really comfortable with, like solving problems using like the greedy way or dynamic programming. And for me, I did a lot of practice problems, like medium level on LeetCode, which was really useful, just to get like that thinking going on. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could answer. So going off with that, in addition to doing a lot of analytical questions, I also did a lot of mock interview with my friends regularly, because practicing communication, articulating your ideas is more important than solving the problem itself, because communicating your ideas not only show your thinking process, but also let the interviewer knows like how you approach the problems. So during my interview, I usually communicate different ways of solving this problem and the pros and cons of each one and why I eventually chose one. So that's the benefit of the interactive interview than simply doing the coding interview online or through some just some coding online coding exercise. So just make sure that doing mock interviews definitely helps. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I think I'd like to add on that you should know the OOPS concepts really well. I mean, for my interview, that was really important. So if you're choosing a particular language, you should be very thorough with your language, and you should also know OOPS properly.
Yeah. I mean, the data structure algorithms should be the number one priority. Then comes OOPS, and you are occasionally asked operating systems and data and database. Occasionally, but yeah, not for every interviews. But you might be asked that. But yeah, definitely data structure algorithms take the priority. You should practice more questions, and when the interview is near, try to look into the company's questions, and prepare accordingly. Just not going for random questions. That is also one thing, because I've seen people just preparing like just random questions, and it's not going to help. You need to know the theory and the questions. Okay, so yeah, that is pretty much which I think it's enough. So do we have the next question? Yeah. Yeah, so anyone wants to answer this?
I don't think there is any late, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's really dependent on like where you are already. Like, there's like definitely people who don't. They only need like a minimal amount of time to like go over data structure and algorithms. But like, maybe if you're in a person who's like not really comfortable with like interview technical type of questions, then you need more time. It's like so person dependent.
Yeah, I think the major topics are definitely some key data structures such as arrays, strings, trees, graphs, and algorithm. I would say maybe reference search, depth search, and maybe dynamic programming, gradient algorithms. Just the basic you encounter like in the data structure and algorithms class. And then you could also try to do some LeetCode question and see what common topics are out there.
And also like be ready to be asked about like time complexity and space complexity. So when you're solving like these practice problems, try to think about like, why am I choosing this way? Like, if they ask you, like they'll ask you like, why are you choosing this data structure? You can be like, oh, because of like time complexity or like something like that. And they'll probably also ask you about the time complexity at the end of the problem as well. So Google actually has a specific freshman sophomore program, and I think some other tech companies have them as well. So those are specifically designed for freshmen and sophomores. So the interview questions are easier, and they obviously like they don't expect you to like have taken like a lot of CS courses, mainly just like fundamental ones. So there's that. You can also still apply for their SWE internships. You might not have covered the material they might be asking for in the interview questions, but it's definitely possible.
Sure. So I'll go ahead. Like I'm an SD at Amazon. I'm currently working for the music team. I'm part of the music videos team currently. Yeah. So that's pretty much. Anyone else?
Yeah. So for me, I was a QA intern, which stands for Quality Assurance in the Apple's Core Motion team. And this team mainly does a lot of health and fitness features on device and phone, such as the fall detection feature on Apple Watch or the dance workout feature, which was just released this year. And they're doing a lot of cool stuff. Yeah.
So for me, I was a software engineering intern in the Facebook ads training data infra team. So I basically was in charge of creating a platform. It was the quota management pillar for this new platform called Monocle. And yeah.
I worked as an ads engineering intern at Netflix, and I basically worked on this backend application for automating the process of making ads.
Yeah, I worked on the Google Cloud GCP team, and they kind of worked on the Spring Boot conversion on the like Java background. So it was a lot of like Spring Boot framework work. I don't really know the answer to this question, but personally, I have a one-column resume. I really don't know the pros and cons of one or two.
Yeah, I have seen both type of resumes, but I personally use one column too. Yeah, so we have a referral portal. So but I already ended my internship. But otherwise, you could just forward your resume and the job IDs to the interns, and then they will help you refer to the relevant positions. And I think after that, you will receive a link to apply that again.
Yeah, for Amazon it is. You need to apply on the internal portal. Even if you get referred, you need to fill up the application form also. I mean, for interns as well as full time, so it's same for that.
So for Facebook, yeah, you can ask any like Facebook intern or employee to fill out the referral form, and then you don't have to apply externally. So that should be enough.
So Netflix just started the internship program. I personally filled out the application, but I think they might be taking referrals now. But since I finished my internship, I don't think I'll be able to give any referrals.
Yeah, I haven't gone through the referral process of like how to do it yet.
I think for me personally, right now I only have experience with tech giant like Facebook because that was my first internship. But I'm open to exploring startups because I feel like each one has its own benefits. But I think right now, because of like the pandemic and like working from home situation, I'm like right now I'm looking forward to just like working in a tech giant because I feel like there are more resources and it's like a bigger company. So I just like an easier time to like meet more people and like learn different things from like more people.
So on this, I would say it's more of a personal opinion. You can either go for, whichever suits you, like people do go for, startup just because they need to work hard. They have that, there will be less people. I'll be, a big fish in a pond and stuff like that. But, I mean, if talking personally, even with Amazon, you will get a lot of work and, you are, making substantial change. So, I mean, it depends on the person. Yeah, now that's it. Like there is no, things you should go here or here. It depends on you entirely.
Yeah, so once you apply online, I heard from like other colleagues of mine that it's sometimes useful to just if you have like a recruiter's email that works at that company, to just email them and like a really short and brief email that just shows your interest and kind of to supplement your application. And also cover letters also help, but like make sure you make them company specific. Don't just like copy paste the same one for every company. And like choose it like specific points of that company to generally show why you're interested. That would definitely help.
No, I don't have clue about that actually.
Me neither. So I'm currently I just finished my sophomore year of college. I'm right now a junior. So I worked from this past May to August, so in between my second, third year of college.
Yeah,
Sorry, you go
go on,
ahead.
go on, go on.
So I completed my first year of master's in computer science, and I did my internship over the summer. That is from June to August.
Yeah, so I'm a full-time employee. I've started after college, obviously.
Yeah, I finished up my my sophomore year, so I'm entering my junior year.
I had no experience. This was my first internship.
Yeah, so for me, I didn't have any real world experience either. I think it was just I did a lot of projects and stuff and assignments in class, so that was my experience.
I had an internship my summer after my freshman year, and then I also had some. I did a little bit of research with a professor during my sophomore fall, but that was it.
Yeah, so as part of Samsung for some months, or like few months, that's not much, but yeah, I was part of Samsung before this.
So I know.
Go ahead. I know like it really depends on teams because I know some teams strongly prefer C++. At least at Apple, they prefer C++ or Objective-C or Swift if they're working on iOS development. But also like some teams focusing more on the data analysis or data pipeline building, then they will prefer Python. So I know some teams prefer Scala and some other programming languages. So I know be familiar or proficient in any of the programming languages would help. Yeah.
Just to like piggyback. Oh, sorry. On what she said is that I don't think knowing a lot of programming languages is that useful. Like knowing a few and being really good at them, that's what you want to try to do. Yeah, because it's also like it's really easy, I feel like, to pick up a programming language once you know like a few really well. Oh, I never did GHC, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, for this question, I think definitely be prepared for storytelling, have a comprehensive logic and story for all the experiences you have, and try to think about where you come from and how does your past experience on your resume have make you who you are and where you are today. So I think, and also be prepared for every single thing you wrote on the resume because you might be asked for any of them. So I think based on this, you should be fine, pretty good for the behavioral questions. Yeah.
So Netflix is actually pretty culture heavy. So you should actually go through the cultural memo and prepare your behavioral questions accordingly. I think every company might have their own cultural memo, so it's not better to like go through it before you prepare your answers.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. So Amazon has these leadership principles. You are definitely going to be asked questions in that, so you can read them before and you can think, like where do you fit in? So yeah, it depends on the company.
Yeah, I have never negotiated for an internship. Yeah.
Yeah, meaning that I did not negotiate.
So personally, I knew I always wanted to do CS for like a really long time, but I'm also interested in math as well. So I'm trying to like explore the more like theoretical side of CS and perhaps quant. So those are like my focus areas.
Yeah, so for me, I'm personally really interested in NLP and health tech because NLP, I'm personally very passionate about languages. I think that's a very interesting field to learn about how the computer science learns human languages. And health is definitely a growing field and has a lot of benefits on society. So yeah, that's the two major areas I'm interested in.
So just off the top of my head, I already mentioned you have LeetCode, and then there are also other similar good websites like HackerRank. And then I think there's like a book I know, like coding. It's like the coding interview book. I forgot what it's called, but
Cracking the code.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cracking the code interview. I know that's a good one.
You can also refer to Geeks for Geeks for like basic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Geeks has like a huge repository of questions, so you'll find all the questions there if you want to read. I mean, even if you'll find LeetCode questions, so yeah, it's a huge repository. But yeah, it's not that much in order as much LeetCode is. So LeetCode should be the first thing you should go for if you want to prepare in order and company-wise. Yep.
My hosts always recommended I study on InterviewBit for like future interviews because it's like it also kind of like teaches you the material as well as just give you problems.
For me personally, I would not say a number, how much is enough. It's more about the quality, like how much you learn from them. So I would say try to like know a few questions well, rather than knowing a lot of questions superficially. Yeah, I would say like it's important to figure out the common patterns as you do interview. Definitely as much as possible, but also make sure that you really take away from them. Try to figure out what are some underlying patterns or algorithms could fit in this question. So in the future, when you hear a similar question, you will immediately link that to the question you did before. So I think that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's never about like how much is like it's enough. I feel like that's depends from person to person. And also like your goal shouldn't be like just to grind constantly and like try to like just memorize questions or answers. That's not useful at all. It just make sure you understand. And for me, like I did a lot of problems on LeetCode obviously, and I remember like I felt it was enough when like it just started clicking. Like I would look at the problem right away and like in my head I'd be like, okay, this is a DP problem. Like and then just kind of list out the steps. Like it would just click. And then I felt like comfortable doing like all types of problems.
Yeah, so I think like competitive coding is something that helps you gain problem solving skills. I mean, you cannot replace it with development at all. So I won't say that it is a must for getting into tech giants or any company for that matter, but it is important. Like for me, it was one of the best things. I did like solving questions. That was a different thing. But yeah, it really helped me in gaining problem solving skills. And, and adding to the previous question, if you're just solving questions in LeetCode, it is not enough. You need to have that capability of being able to solve new problems, because it is not the fact that, you will get the same problem again. You can get a different problem. So for that thing, you should be doing coding in any aspect, not just competitive programming, but any aspect, so that you are able to solve new questions. Yeah, that is my, like, it is important. Anyone else can add to that.
Yeah, I think like the people who I've talked to who I know do competitive programming, it's like mostly stems from like their interest and like their passion for it. And I think that's what really helps them. If it's something that you're interested, I think like totally go for it. But I wouldn't like force yourself to like go through with it or anything like that.
I think referrals definitely like they do play a role. I think they obviously increase your chances of like your resume sticking out to the recruiter, and increase your chances of getting an interview call. But I think at the end of the day, like the interview is going to be the same. So like that, it's on you to pass the interview in either case.
I don't think it lands you an interview call, it just gives you the coding link.
Okay, so everyone, I'm sorry to cut off in between, but let's welcome a representative from Microsoft over here. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, can everyone hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I'm in PST, but my name is Ting Ting. I am a program manager intern at Microsoft. So if there is any questions that are PM related, I'd be happy to answer them.
That's great. Also, some of you can get a chance to get a one-on-one mentorship with some of these awesome panelists. So just put your key takeaways on LinkedIn and tag scholarship track, and probably whoever you want to get mentorship from. If you want to tag them as well, you're free to tag. And yeah, good luck. We'll go on to the next question.
For this question on how to make your resume stand out as a freshman year CS student, I think it's completely understandable that you don't have a lot of experience to put onto your resume. And in that case, in between the time, it's definitely really recommended to do a lot of more side projects on the side, especially if you're trying to go into the software engineering route. And then if you're trying to do the PM route, in terms of the project that you're taking on, make sure that you're taking a lot of initiative in becoming a lead, so that you're managing the project aspects of like defining requirements, managing your team members, and kind of delegating tasks and whatnot. I think those would be very important things to list in terms of your experience when you put it onto your resume.
Also, for Google's STEP program, which again is like for freshmen and sophomores, they also ask for short answer questions. So that's like another way, because they like understand that your resume doesn't really, it's like kind of empty. So they will also take like a qualitative side to it, where they'll ask you about what you bring to CS and like why, like kind of like those kind of general questions. So that's like kind of a way where you could bring something unique from your own self that isn't maybe like qualitative that you could put on your resume.
So I know like at Facebook, there is a position for like ML research and like ML development, but that's like specifically for PhDs. But I also know that like it's possible to get like into the ML team and do something with ML even for like non-PhD. So they're like two separate positions you apply for.
Yeah, I know some teams at Apple require a graduate degree, but some are also open to a bachelor degree. It really depends on how complicated the model is. Like some people really require you to dive deep into some state-of-art neural network, but while some companies only want to use some simple models such as linear regression or KN to do that for products. So it really depends on requirements of the team. But as a bachelor, you definitely have the chance to work with ML.
Yeah, I would agree for Amazon as well. You do have a chance. It's not that they do not recruit at all, but yeah, you have chances for that also.
So unfortunately, Netflix doesn't take freshers. The position starts from a senior software engineer or like the same position for ML teams. So yeah.
I think like contributing to open source will definitely increase your chances because like it definitely looks good on your resume, and it brings more credibility to your like coding ability. So for building your resume, I would say if you're in college, definitely get rid of your high school stuff to start off with. For my resume, I have like a list of important courses that I think are relevant to the position I'm applying to. Like let's say I'm applying to like I don't know, like an ML position, then I would include like a deep learning course or whatever. And then obviously include like awards like Dean's List or any like hackathons. So for me, I like to have experience, the education on top, because I feel like that's the first thing recruiters look at. And then right after I have my experience, and then below that I have my projects and like other things. And then at the bottom I have like skills, programming languages, and extracurriculars. I feel like that's a good order to have, and I've seen other resumes have that. And also like just in general, reach out to people and ask a lot of people to look over your resume, make sure it's like nicely organized and just easy to go through.
Yeah, so in addition to the, for instance, for software engineering, all of my experience on the work experience and projects are tech related, but there's also a leadership part where I put something about my leadership experience. Like for instance, I was an organizer of some events. They're not directly work related, but to showcase some soft skills, which I believe the companies would also value.
Okay, so this is something I'll tell from my personal experience. I have looked over a lot of resumes over LinkedIn. People, ask me to look at them. So one of the things I've seen people usually do is add a lot of stuff to their resumes which are not even important. They just want to expand their resume, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. No one is looking for a 2-page or 3-page resume. If you are able to do it in 1 page, just do it in 1 page. It's not necessary to have a huge page. Recruiters don't have that kind of time, right? So just try to sum up all the experience into 1 page, whichever you feel nice, but do not increase the resume, the length of resume, just by adding spaces or random things. I mean, that's the first advice I would give.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is the advice I got from a recruiter that whichever technologies, like if you describe a project, if you have certain technologies that you've used in a project, highlight the keywords because that will stand out to the recruiter because they don't go through the entire thing that is written.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, they're not going to look over each line. So, yeah.
I also had the advice where during my internship, I worked on open source projects and I had my code on GitHub. And so my recruiter was like, oh, you should like hyperlink your project and like to your GitHub repo so they can actually see the work that you've been doing if they so want to go that deep. That's just like a nice thing to have.
And I completely agree with all the advice that was given before me. I think it's generally noted that keep your resumes onto 1 page. Recruiters only have about 8 to 11 seconds to glance over your resume, and then beyond that, they don't really have much time to. Another thing I would really recommend is in terms of when you're getting your resume reviewed, I've been reviewing a lot of my underclassmen and friends' resumes as well. Do give them a week. So don't try to rush whoever's trying to help you review them. If you want quality review, definitely give them a week beforehand, just so that you can give them some time, be able to look at things in detail, and then for them to get back to you.
I think this is mainly taking advantage of like networking, just like making connections, using LinkedIn or like having like a colleague or like knowing someone. So there's no other way really, just besides reaching out to people and growing your network.
If you have campus events specifically for the company that you're interested in, so career fairs or just campus events that are dedicated in general, like Q&A sessions and stuff, definitely stay until the very end or at the very beginning. Reach out to that recruiter who's leading the event, and then make sure that you get your name out there and hand them a resume if possible, just so that they can reach out to you as well. Or if you do email them, they won't be surprised. I was like, oh, who's this random person who's emailing me?
So what I had done was I just applied through their portal, and I actually mailed the hiring manager. Like the name was there in the link, like in the CC, and I mailed one of them. Apart from that, I don't think there's anything that you can do. You could find the recruiters on LinkedIn and like ping those people. But yeah, they have internships. They just started with the internship program, but yeah, they don't hire for entry level positions for full time.
Yeah, I know for sure Google's going to have events at Grace Hopper. I think pretty much like maybe like I would expect like the majority of like major tech companies to have events at Grace Hopper. Yeah, like it's like everyone's there. Not that I haven't personally gone, but like just from like my friends' experiences and also just what I know of that event, it's massive.
So for what type of projects help, I think I don't know if there's any particular type of project really that like recruiters or whoever's looking over your resume look for. I think it's just how you like present it on your resume, like how deep you went. Like obviously include like resources if they want to like dig into like the GitHub link or whatever as said. Yeah, and like I guess one thing that may help is that if your projects are somewhat related to the position you're applying for, like if you're applying for a front-end engineer, your projects relate to front-end, so maybe that might be a plus.
Yeah, another thing would be whatever projects you do, be sure you know about it. I mean, if you're asked in your interview, because just don't take help from internet and just make a project, make it look good. You should know about it. Like that should be the the most important thing. Know about your projects, whatever you do it.
Yeah, so for Apple, definitely check your job websites. It gets refreshed every single day. So I'm still also looking for full time, so I'm checking that every day. Yeah, and if possible, maybe try to find some referral and refer to the job relative job. Yeah, just send them the job ID.
Even on LinkedIn, there's a job section, so you could just go to the job section and just skim through it every day. Normally, like they just post about whatever new openings are there.
I can answer this one actually. So, to quick story, I am a current third year and a rising senior at the university I was attending. My first 2 years of university, I thought I wanted to be a software engineer. Turns out that wasn't true. I was just really passionate about tech, but when it comes to do I really want to sit down and work on each features, or do I have the ability to? Do I have the passion for it? I kind of realized that I actually love working on the big pictures things better. So I love gathering requirements. I love communicating with designers and engineers. And that was exactly how I found that PM was more related to me. My current role is actually my first official PM role. However, I found my passion for it by working on smaller projects on the side. And I was directing a hackathon at my school as well, where it really made me realize that this is like a path for me, and this is something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, so for me, I think doing internship definitely helps. If you don't have much internship experience, definitely ask people, talk to different people of different roles, see why are they passionate about where they are now, and see whether that fits or align with your interest as well.
Yeah, so for me, like even though I knew I wanted to do CS, I feel like within CS, there's so many different things that you can do. Like there's front end, back end, ML, AI, you name it, it's there. So I feel like I'm like definitely make use of like internships. That's what I'm trying to do. Like I'm applying to different roles within different like intern programs just to experience it. And then I feel like that's going to give me a better idea of where I want to what I want to pursue full time later on.
Yeah, and during those internships, it's super helpful if like once you're in the company, like that's a great opportunity to like ping people who are in teams that you might want to work in, or you think what they're doing is just interesting, or maybe you just like met them in the meeting and you just like the way that they present themselves, like you really admire and like want to find out more about what they do. And like the worst thing they do is like they don't respond, like they're too busy or something, and like that's no big deal. But yeah, that's really great to like see. And like it's also really interesting to see how all those people got to where they are. And these are all like full-time employees, and if that's your goal at these companies, like that's even better. Like how did they get there? What advice do they have to offer? And especially if you aren't sure about what you might want to go into, learning about these like different roles and teams and trying to find out, okay, like this is what I like, this is what I don't like, maybe this would be a good fit, that's definitely not a good fit. So, like things like that. I personally like don't. I just like submit my resume as is. I like cross my fingers, I guess.
This is something I've heard. I personally don't know too much about it, but in terms of beating like automatic resume screenings and whatnot, make sure your resume has as much keywords that was aligned with the job description that was online. So in that way, when the automatic screener will look through your resume, identify those keywords and then make sure that, oh, if there is enough in terms of like experience or skills and whatnot that they're looking for, they'll make sure to keep it.
So for me, actually, like they didn't ask any design questions in my interview. It was basically just like your normal algorithm questions, but actually on the job, I actually did have to work with designing a little bit. So I think I feel like if you're applying for like software, unless it's like a design role, I feel like they won't focus that much in it, but they may ask like a few questions here and there.
Yeah,
So if you're
go on. Yeah, go on.
So if you're a master student and if you're looking for a full-time job, which I'm currently doing, I've heard that they ask a design question. Like there's a round which is about design questions. So yeah, if you're applying for a full-time, you should prepare for design.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I've seen, and for SD ones, you're not, mostly asked for design jobs. As your experience increases, then is where they're looking into the design thing. As a fresher, mostly you won't be, asked design questions, so you can be chilled about that. Yeah, but as you move forward, but yeah, don't take just my word for it. I'm not saying they do not study at all. You can study, but mostly you won't be asked. As you move forward, you will be asked. Like when I will be moving forward, I definitely have to answer the questions. So yeah. As you move forward in your career, you definitely need to learn those, study those. Yeah.
So I don't know about like whether you would always get a reply, from a recruiter on LinkedIn or like whether it necessarily will help you, but like I feel like it can never hurt, so there's no point in not trying. I think the best way to approach it, just like introduce yourself, make it concise because they don't have that much time either. Just talk about like a little bit about yourself, your major, your school, education, things like that. Yeah, that's about it. And you can probably just like Google, like I'm sure people have examples online about the best way to approach a recruiter on LinkedIn.
One thing not to do would be don't write hi and just wait for his reply. Yeah, don't do that.
Mhm.
You should write directly like whatever you are looking for, go for that.
So for me, this summer it was all remote, so I was basically at home. So basically how it worked for me is that I had an intern manager, but along with him, there were two other there was a production engineer and another software engineer also overseeing me, and I was getting my information on like what to do for my project mainly from them. So every week I would have a one-on-one meeting with each of them and basically get my work. And yeah, it was pretty independent, I want to say. So I didn't have to rely on them. Like once I get my work, I asked them a bunch of questions. So I would make my like design or whatever, refer back to them. Once it's confirmed, I would just basically just be independently coding. Yeah, for most of the day. That's about it.
Yeah, for me, it's a mix of meeting and coding because my work is also independent. So I would check in with my manager basically maybe once every 2 days. And then we have a team meeting every day to just to describe what you've done today. And I'll also schedule a meeting with some other relevant stakeholders to see their perspective and to learn about domain knowledge and to discuss about design. Yeah.
Mhm. For my average day of work, I'm also remote, unfortunately. But in general, I kind of go through a day first replying to any emails that are immediately action required. And then from there, checking if I have any meetings scheduled for the rest of the day and planning my work accordingly. So my meetings technically consist of more communicating my progress or requirements that I need from other people. If there are certain tools or technology that I need to know about, I make sure to contact an engineer or a PM of that team so I can get a better idea of what's going on. And then I spend the rest of the day mostly working on the program development in terms of designing diagrams and whatnot to kind of ease the technical knowledge into like more simplified versions for our stakeholders. And then I will also write a lot of technical documentation to pair along with it. But yes, definitely a lot of breaks in between.
Yeah, I know a lot of people coming from mechanical engineering background are working for Apple. So I think as long as you like even like at Apple, a lot of people are non-tech related. So I'm pretty sure as long as you have passions and have some basic skills such as coding skill, and then there will be some role that would fit your background. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that you have to develop the right set of skills. I mean, it would depend on the job you're applying for. You can definitely go into one of these companies, but yeah, you have to develop those skills whether you are from any background. So at some level that is only gonna matter. You can definitely make it. Yeah, you can do that. So yeah, just develop those skill sets required for the job.
Yeah, so for Apple, it's different from most companies because it doesn't go through a standard interview process as a company-wide and then do team matching. You will directly apply to the specific team at Apple. So it really depends on the requirements of the team. Some people might focus on ML or AI, then they will evaluate some basic knowledge for that. While some teams might value more system part. While some people doesn't really have a specific requirement, they only look for your passions and whether you can do basic coding. Yeah, so it really varies. But I think for other companies like Google, I'm pretty sure they have to do on-site for an entire day and basically mainly LeetCode questions. And yeah, maybe you can confirm with that.
Yeah, also like at Facebook, you don't apply for the team, you apply like generally, and then like for new grad roles, it's like your generic what's expected, a few rounds of just like your algorithm, I guess a few behavioral questions, and then you get matched to a team.
Yeah, I think for intern, they definitely have a lower expectation than like full time. Mainly, people would mainly look for data structure and algorithms, whether you understand the principles, whether you are able to apply them to problems, and whether you have a passion for coding. I think that's basically it. They don't really have a like a specific skill, a hard skill set they're looking for. At least that's from my experience so far.
Also, like one thing to keep in sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, one thing to keep in mind is like, even though this sounds bad, I feel like at the end of the day, there's always like a little bit of luck that always plays into this stuff. Like there's some companies that literally just outright rejected my resume. Like I applied to so many companies before, and then like I was surprised when like Facebook didn't reject me. So like it's just like whatever. It's kind of luck too.
Yeah, I think I can totally relate to you because I applied to more than 250 companies for my internship, and I did not expect Netflix to give a reply. And there were like small companies which would just reject me because I didn't have experience. So it depends from company to company, but I think just keep applying. That's one thing.
I know this is always true, but like I know for like some programs, applying like really early helps a lot too. That was like one recruiter specifically was like, "I'll submit your application the day it comes out," because it just helped. It's like it's kind of like a rolling basis, like once they get the interview started, like they have offers coming out after it. So want to get your shot in there.
I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the session that definitely doing a lot of mock interviews. with peers, with friends, or with some mentors. That would definitely help you prepare for a real interview setting.
I'm not really sure what happens, like how the recruiters do it. But like obviously they don't like have the time to read everything, so they just like skim it and make sure you have like the keywords, general advice keywords highlighted and things like that.
Yeah, I would say it's a mix of both. Mostly if you're applying referral, one of the thing is, you get the chance of recruiter manually looking at it. That is one thing that, referral will assure. I mean, mostly. But yeah, I mean, it's a combination of both the things as far as I know.
Yeah. So I think this is a good question actually. Yeah, it depends from person to person, but I think like for me, I think I mentioned this in the beginning, but like I learned data structures and I took algorithms in my college classes. And then I felt like there were some questions that I was still a little iffy on. So like I self-studied it a little more. So I used YouTube videos and stuff. And once I felt like really comfortable with the topics and stuff, then I went on to problem solving. And so the summer after my freshman year of college, I didn't have any internships. So I was just at home. And I think I did about like one or two LeetCode problems every day for like a month-ish. So that I probably like ended up doing like a little over like 35 questions of like different levels and like different types of problems. And then I think after that month, it personally, like when you just realize like you're getting faster at it, you're more comfortable with it, you don't have to like think that hard. I think you realize on your own that it's clicking and you're good with problem solving.
For me, I think as a PM, like my type of problem solving is a bit different. I generally don't code, but it is good to have a good understanding of it. And I think based on my prior experience when I was going after software engineering and development as well, I wouldn't say exactly how long, but then I think during that time frame, it's important to recognize that first, before you get good at problem solving, is to admit that you're bad at it, and that's why you want to improve. And that kind of gives you a type of growth mindset where no matter how long it will take, you'll continue practicing like it was said before. And then as you progress, you get faster at it, or you recognize that there are some things you don't understand, so you'll be more willing to reach out to other people in that time frame. I feel like it kind of helps you progress a little faster when you easily acknowledge that you're still having room for improvement.
Oh, also, one more thing I forgot to mention is for me, like I was really into math league and stuff throughout high school. So I did a lot of like math league problems. So I know that's not like obviously directly CS related, but I didn't realize it then till I got to college. But that actually helped me a lot with problem solving. I felt like the same problem solving skills required in solving like math league questions just made me like it was easier time to I had an easier time picking up like problem solving in CS then.
Yeah, I don't know any platforms like specifically to prepare as like an ML engineer or data scientist. I just did like the software development preparation for an internship, which was just like data structures and algorithms. So sorry, I'm not very helpful.
Yeah, same for me. I haven't applied for email. Like, I'm not that much interested in that. So yeah, I do not know about that much.
Yeah, but mhm. Yeah, I don't know either. But from what I heard, like ML engineer and data scientist might be really mathy. Like, so they ask a lot of math questions, like linear algebra, probability. Yeah, that would definitely be foundational.
Okay, I can answer that. So I think this was a mistake that I made. When I came here, I didn't know that it's going to be so competitive to apply for internships. And I actually started applying after my first semester got over. But I think there are people that I know who started applying when they were in India, like in their country, and before they even came for their masters. So most of there are applications which start somewhere like in the beginning of August or September. So just like prepare LeetCode if you can, and start applying as soon as possible, because there are a lot of companies that shut their applications by the time December starts. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that's like there's no like boundary that, oh, this is sufficient. It just depends on like what job you're applying, things like that. Yeah, I think having like a good balance is good. Like you should also include a few projects, a few like awards, like just different things. Yeah.
Yeah, so for Apple, I heard like the years in terms of experience does not really matter that much. That's probably the thing that matters the least. The most important thing is about what skill set you have and whether you match the key qualifications. Yeah, I think that makes sense as well. If you have the same level of expertise or experience as those who had more experience than you, then why don't they consider you? Yeah.
And also, like, it never hurts just to apply. Like,
Yeah.
worst case scenario, like, you don't get a response, and like, at least you know, like, it's better than wondering or preventing yourself from that opportunity.
I agree. Yes, moving on to the next question.
Yeah, that's what I heard, but I'm not sure. Like big tech probably won't really read your cover letters. So, but I'm really not sure. What do you do other people think?
So for my internship, I didn't submit a cover letter and it was fine. So I don't know if it's that big of a deal, to be honest.
Yeah, I think in our field, cover letters aren't as important. I it's probably bad of me to do this, but I tend to avoid job applications that require me a cover letter just because I don't want to write one. But overall, I do think that this really kind of depends on like the position you apply for. Some of them try to focus on your experience and soft skills a little bit more, and therefore focus emphasis on cover letters. So if you have that time to be able to improve it, definitely speak with people who have written cover letters before. Or I found that business students, the roles that they apply for technically require cover letters, so they might be good people to ask for help too.
Yeah, actually, I know, like, for tech, if you're applying for a tech internship at like a business-oriented company that really isn't like you wouldn't kind of like traditionally perceive as a tech company, you'll have like cover letters for that because they kind of put tech in the same lane as they do for like their other like positions like for business.
I think we have mostly covered this, right? I mean,
I think it's like really dependent on what position you're applying to. If you're doing like an undergrad internship, like I probably don't need to worry about it. Maybe if you have something on your resume regarding it, they'll ask you about it. But this is probably questions that you'd get if you're applying for more experienced positions.
So I think a lot of people say this in general. I don't think LeetCode hard is really asked in interview questions. And I don't think, like for me, I didn't think it was worth my time. So I just focused on medium or easy. I think for the most part, they asked me medium questions.
Yeah, but some LeetCode hard questions are really, really good questions. Then it might worth take a look as well. Like a few days ago, I did a question called word search 2 on LeetCode. That's yeah, that's a really good question.
This is a good question, and I kind of touched upon it in earlier. But in general, to prepare for PM roles, on top of just having PM experience prior, so if you had previous internships and whatnot, definitely add that to your resume in preparation for it. And in general, for PM, it is a very hard to enter role. I found very limited opportunities, so I went the non-traditional route of focusing more on projects. On any school activities that require a more management kind of position, especially if it's relating to tech. So I focused a lot on hackathons. I love going to hackathons. And when I do participate in hackathon projects, if I'm not coding with my fellow developers and engineers, I would actually define and scope out the project for them. So this was actually a piece that I was able to present when we reached the end of the hackathon as well. And because presentational skills and being able to kind of like simplify technical terms is a very important skill to have as a PM. Other than that, questions that are typically asked, be prepared for asking or getting asked product design questions. Be prepared to ask for very basic technical questions. There are some interviews required that you do have to have a minimal of coding knowledge. So I prepared for that as well, like through LeetCode and whatnot. And last but not least, do have an idea of like certain business concepts. So cost benefit analysis and things like that. I think those are very important to have as PM as well. So be prepared.
Yeah, I heard there's a book called Cracking the PM Interview that basically covers everything you would expect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for me, I think that's a pretty common situation because a lot of so-called assigned tasks are actually also kind of ambiguous or open-ended because they're also exploring the different possibility of this project. So in this case, just try to communicate with your team team members or manager and actively discuss, make sure that you fully understand what to do.
Yeah, I think communication is really, really important. For me, like I remember in the beginning, I was like definitely confused. I was like, where do I go with this? Like, what do I do on this project? So like I made a list of questions because I also don't want to be like constantly annoying like my intern manager and like asking questions one by one. So I made a list of questions. I shared the doc with them and he got back to me and answered each one. And then like, yeah, I think that definitely made it more efficient.
I think I'll agree with her. I had a mentor who I would speak to every day. So every morning I would wake up and like write down all my questions and then like schedule a 1 hour or a half an hour meeting with him and then go through all my questions. And then sometimes he would tell me some extra things and that would actually clear more things for me.
Yeah, so for this year, I know Apple's, like most headcounts are out in September. So just check out their job website regularly. I'm sure like a lot of jobs will be posted in September or October.
Mm-hmm. I think I agree. I think for the tech industry, recruitment cycles typically start in fall. So just be careful on make sure that you have everything prepared beforehand. And then when fall hits, immediately start applying.
Yeah, but also for Apple, since I mentioned, it is applied directly to teams. So if you are graduating next May, it probably a lot of positions would be posted in spring as well. And a lot of teams would only start to interview candidates when you are closer to the starter date. So it depends on the companies. So I'm not sure. Like, so if you cannot find a good full-time position in fall, don't worry about that. There will be a lot of positions in spring as well.
So for me, I feel like I can speak on this just because I know, like, I don't think I did that well of a job. It took me some time to like adjust. It was remote also, so that made it a little difficult. Just, talk, like it was hard I couldn't talk to my manager. Obviously, if I had questions right away, I have to wait for him to reply to my ping. But I feel like I I improved like a lot from my first half to my second half by just communicating better. Um I think in the beginning I was a little like I was like shy. I didn't want to bother them or whatever and like ping them constantly, but I was like, this is wasting time. Like nothing's being done if I don't reach out to them. So I think just reaching out to them, asking questions and just being what else? Yeah, oh also every time like there was a code review and my intern manager gave me feedback like, oh, this is bad style or blah blah blah. I made also a list of things not to repeat. So throughout the internship I had this ongoing list of things to focus on, and in my next code review I made sure to go through that list and like not repeat mistakes.
Yeah, like I did the same exact thing. Um, I had to use like a Git for the first time, and I definitely like messed up my branches like multiple times. And what I did was I just like did the same thing. I just had a Google Doc of the issues that I had made before and the solutions that my host had come up with and like the commands that they used. That was super helpful. Communication, like always ask when you're confused, and this is kind of a bit like brown nosing, but like it's very helpful and also like interesting if like you're using the technology like specific to a company, like and you want to learn more about it, or like just a general concept and just researching it on your own and like learning new things about it and like things that might be applicable to your project that you can like bring up to your manager. um I mean, like that definitely doesn't hurt. And also you're getting to learn more just on your own, which is always nice just to have. And then in terms of like, I think I kind of already said this earlier, but like reaching out to people outside of your team, I think it's just really maybe like won't help your performance necessarily in that internship, but like long term, it'll give you a much better sense of like what you might be interested in doing and what you can envision yourself doing, as well as like just learning about their paths. And I mean, also like you get to know more people just like you, and that kind of also raises like the general like if you want to talk about like kind of like in a like kind of a more snaky sense of like performance.
Right. I think just like last answer for the previous question was, in general, to perform better at your internship, understand the expectations of you. So if you have a better expectation or like better understanding of what's your manager's and mentor's expectation of you, you can create your steps a little bit at a time, like take more initiative in certain areas, connect better with other engineers or PMs as well, and get a better understanding of how you can meet those expectations.
I'm guessing this is like to put on your resume or something. You could just put like incoming TA for the class. That should be good.
For this, I would say that it's more what you put in the resume that matters than the resume itself. I mean, whatever you put in there, that is going to matter most. So, I don't exactly know the website, but yeah, just make sure you have enough to put in the resume.
Yeah, I don't know any websites either off the top of my head, but what I did was you can just Google like good resumes for like software engineers, whatever, and you'll find like a lot of templates. And I realized like I compared mine to theirs, and mine just looked ugly and like not organized. So I changed it to like look like there's also one more thing. I know I have a few friends who are like applying for like design roles and stuff. So what they did is they made their like resume like a little extra pretty to like show that they're good at designing, obviously. So I feel like that's a plus point. So depends on what role you're applying for. I'm not really sure what you mean by level. I think just as long as you like thoroughly understand your project and know what you're doing and you gain something out of it, I feel like, whether it's a new skill or you learned a new technology or something, I think that's good.
Yeah, I think even the projects which are a part of your curriculum, if you do those and put them on your resume, that is good enough, because at entry level, they're not expecting you to do something really out of scope or something.
Oh, okay. So this is a question specific to me. Yeah, to find specific connections, you definitely could use LinkedIn and to find who work at those specific team or who work at specific roles and try to send message to them. Hey, I'm very interested in introduce yourself. Hey, I'm a college student studying computer science and I'm really interested in this role and I wonder if you have a quick time to call. Like I would usually just set up a call with them because that's maybe a 15 minutes call because that's easier to communicate. Yeah, so as an intern, I use Slack, our internal Slack, and reach out to a lot of people, and they responded really quickly. And I set up meeting with them. That helps as well. Yeah, and also we have internal directory to search for the people and to find those people in the team. But if you are outside of the company, definitely LinkedIn is a good platform to do that. Mm-hmm.
So I don't I think it's just doing like a little bit every day, like a little practice or like as I said like last summer, maybe like one problem every day. It wasn't even that much. Like it's probably 1 hour out of your time, but I think yeah, consistency is important. That's about it. Just like maybe focus on one skill and like spend 45 minutes every day trying to build upon it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree to that. I mean, if you're practicing questions, just keep on doing it regularly. Don't skip it. I mean, 1 or 2 days is a different thing, but yeah, practice, learn theory. And it's not just that you go keep on doing questions, learn theory as well. Give contest. I mean, if you're doing specifically for coding perspective or interview perspective, have mock interviews and all that stuff. But do it on a consistent basis. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think like we have done something unusual, but yeah, just do it consistent.
I would like to add on by saying just apply a lot, and you might get a lot of rejects. So don't get disappointed, because I remember there were days when I would get like 6 rejects a day. But yeah, apply a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yes,
I know
actually, yeah. For
Yeah,
this question, we are allowed to provide referrals for our interns.
yeah. I think it's everywhere. Yeah, we have.
Mm-hmm.
at Facebook specifically, I know interns can also refer full-time employees and like anyone.
Yeah, personally, I am not a master of C++, but I would say the generative is definitely I don't know, searching online and to understand the basic concept. But I'm sure a lot of teams might not. It really depends on the team. Some teams like look for your ability to learn things quickly. They don't expect you to know every single stuff before the job, like before, yeah, but some teams might expect you to know a lot of tricks and nuances with that. So it really depends on the team. But I would say just try to study as much as you can.
Yeah.
So like I previously said, the keep checking the portal. I think I applied in like the first week of January. The applications opened somewhere like in November or December. And yeah, that's about it. Just I didn't have any referral, so just like apply through the portal.
Okay, so I probably could answer this question. So usually a coding interview is 45 minutes long. And for me, the first 20 minutes are used to communicate and discuss your ideas and really make sure that you and your interviewer are on the same page and you both think this is a good solution, good approach that's worth the try. And then you ask them, okay, should I code now? And the interviewer might say, oh, yeah, sure. Then you start coding. And then the next 20 minutes are used for coding and doing test cases and debugging. Make sure that you consider all the possible corner cases and the edge cases and try different inputs, different kind of inputs and try to see whether your function would cover. That's how I basically tailor the coding interview. But for the first half of the coding interview, definitely make sure that you communicate enough. Make sure that you fully understand your ideas before you start coding them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree to that. Like the first thing is you should be, you should clarify the question itself. If that is not clear, and whatever you are thinking, make sure the interviewer knows it. Don't think in your mind. Whatever you're trying to think of, try to tell him because that is really going to help. Even if you're not able to reach, the most appropriate solution, whatever, but at least you are thinking the interviewer knows that you are stuck in something and you knew the question or means you were able to solve it. Okay, so the good thing will be always talk to your interview.
Yeah,
and
I heard
practice. Go
mm-hmm.
on.
Exactly. I heard a lot of Google interviewer would intentionally make the question vague because they want to see whether you are able to ask clarifying questions. Oh, could we assume that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I was about to say I did my interviews with my mock interviews with my hosts who are interviewers, and they would say that first they would they kind of had set up questions in a way that would kind of they would expect people to ask for clarifications to see if they could they were logically thinking through the problem. And my host actually he said something that I think really changed my perspective on interviews was thinking about you're not trying to come up with the solution for them, you're trying to work with the interviewer to create to get to the end of the problem and find the solution. Because I think that perspective really emphasizes the collaboration and the teamwork skills that the interview is trying to hone in along with your hard skills. I know for Google interviews, they have 4 sections that they're looking for, that they're giving a rating at the end of the interview. And it's testing, your use of algorithms, your use of data structures, and teamwork, collaboration, communication. It's not just you're kind of in your whole coding, they want to do the coding with you. And that also helps them help you if you get stuck, because they know how you've been approaching the problem and they have a sense of what direction to point you in to help you out.
Also, one more thing to add on is that let's say for some reason you think you're running out of time and you won't be able to actually code it out. Definitely focus on expressing and communicating your logic and how you want to solve it, because that's more important. Because I feel like coding, at least in my a few of my interviews, they didn't actually make me run it. They just made me pseudocode it. So I think the important thing is explicitly talk about how you want to solve it.
Yeah, sorry. One more thing that brought up another point that I remember my host was telling me was that one of my mock interviews, it took me longer to solve the problem than the time allowed for. And so she was make a helper function and say if you had the time, this is what your helper function would do. But as of right now, you don't have time to code it. If you know you're running out of time during your interview, just say, if I had the time, I would do some pseudocode for the helper function. But for right now, we're just going to assume this function does what I want it to do.
Okay, so there's no particular time. So what happens is sometimes there are a lot of resumes, so it might get delayed. So I can tell you for my result, it took 1 month. I don't know what they're doing, but yeah, it takes time sometimes. So just keep your fingers crossed. Yeah. And the one thing you can do is if you have any point of contact in the team in the company, just ask them to ask the recruiter if you're being selected or not. I mean, that is something you can do, but yeah, you have to wait. There's no definite time.
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, I think questions I asked was because I was curious was about like the team my interviewer is on and what like the best thing he's worked on, and also I also asked him something he didn't like just to like get that perspective, and like focus on like the good and bad, and yeah.
Yeah, so it really varies by teams. At Apple, I think in general, most teams are like 9 to 5 or 10 to 6. Yeah, but if you're at a really busy team, like I know AI/ML optimization, they are really hectic. Some people need to do overtime all the time, and especially for management roles, you're really busy. I see my manager, being online on Slack at early in 8, and they're still online in 11. Yeah, but for entry level roles, I think at least for Facebook, people are busier. Yeah.
So from my experience, I kind of liked, for software engineering at least, I liked how it's no like limit, like, oh, you have to be online for like nobody's checking if you're online for like 9-10 hours, whatever, like nobody cares. As long as you get the work done within this day or earlier, you're fine. So for me, I hate waking up early, especially Monday morning. So I literally just did like a few hours of work Sunday night, and then like scheduled my like emails or questions, whatever, to be sent Monday morning. And I would just wake up late Monday morning and then like have that all set. So it's just like at your own time. I kind of like the flexibility. Yeah.
I agree. Like the work-life balance at Microsoft is pretty flexible as well. And I'm opposite. I like to leave work early. I'd rather wake up early and then leave work early instead. So that's just works best for me. But another note is like in terms of work-life balance, make sure that's okay with your manager first. I know like some managers expect you to be online all the time. Some are more flexible in that sense, but generally I think the company culture is more flexible.
Yeah, I don't think that is the case. Even with Amazon, like I've seen people in, in L4 jobs or L5 jobs even in the later years. So I don't think that is any sort of criteria, at least for Amazon, I can tell.
I agree. I don't think age is like a factor in terms of like limiting you towards a entry role. I've known so many full-timers who came back from the military or came back from like a grad school or graduated from grad school who had like no prior experience in CS, but pivoted into this industry and wanted to get learning on it. So long they're building up their experiences on top of like what previous experience they might have, I think age shouldn't be a matter or like a limitation in this sense.
Oh, I know like at least specific like tech companies have said don't reach out to engineers, reach out to recruiters. One, because recruiters are kind of like who you should be contacting anyways in terms of like like applying and like guiding you through the process, as well as they just like contacting engineer. Like I know like yeah, like I definitely had like in my emails like from companies they're like make sure you don't email engineers because they just view it as a really big no-no.
Or you could also contact the hiring manager, because some hiring manager, they will indicate in linking that, oh, our team is hiring. Then they could also be in the loops of the entire recruiting process.
Also, yeah, it makes sense like not to contact an engineer, but I feel like the one reason that kind of makes sense to contact an engineer if you're not sure like what this role does, or just to like kind of get some understanding of what their work like day in work looks like, maybe better to contact an engineer just to get that understanding.
I agree. Oh, sorry. I think like it's best to contact the recruiter first, and especially in terms of like getting the interview and whatnot, or the application process, since the engineers probably, applied like 3-5 years ago and they have like no idea what's going on anymore. But another like in between of an engineer and a recruiter is like past interns or like really current interns who had that experience of going through the application process and whatnot. They were tremendous help when I was going through, I passed the application route and now I'm actually going into interviews. They were very helpful in terms of like helping me look into questions that they were asked before, or like specific schools or tools and skills that they're looking for.
Yeah, I would just say ideally recruiters, but yeah, if you're not able to get to them, yeah, you can go for engineers. I mean, to get the job and also get the referral. So ideally, it should be recruiters.
I think most of the companies hire on rolling basis. So at least for internships, I know because I started applying a little late, a lot of companies had actually recruited most of their interns till then. Um, it also depends on sometimes the interns get like a better role, so they decide not to choose that company, so the position opens up again. So you just have to, I feel you just have to keep on like searching on LinkedIn or the particular company if you're interested in a particular company.
I think in most cases you don't have to implement a data structure.
Yeah, you do not have to mind. I mean, if you do it using Java, you can go for collections. You do not have to implement it. Yeah, I think not FAANG, but yeah, Samsung does want people to like implement the data structures, but that's a different story. But mostly you do not have to do it.
Yeah, I don't think I can answer.
Yeah, I mean, I exactly don't know when you're saying when starting off. Like, if you're starting with preparation, I mean, there are a lot of sources you can go through. I mean, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of YouTube videos out there, a lot of things out there, LeetCode and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, you will get a lot of resources to work from. I think if it is that, you're looking for.
If you are, sorry, to the previous question, I think if you are meaning that we are working within the FAANG companies and get mentorship, I'm sure there are a lot of resources. Your manager could help you a lot. There are a lot of other people who are willing to help beginners, and there also a company has some so at Apple there's a software university sort of thing. They offer a lot of free courses and trainings to help you gain knowledge for different technical fields. Yeah.
At least for Microsoft, in terms of MS Explorer, yes, there is a referral program. And similar to what we spoke about before, interns, like previous interns or even current full-timers, can actually recommend you or refer you to those same programs.
Yeah, that's actually very, very common. Like not hearing back is probably more likely than hearing back. So be patient is a key. Maybe after a week or two, you could potentially contact the recruiter, but the recruiter has to deal with a lot of applicants. So just be patient, but also follow up, like at the right time.
Yeah, apply for more companies or things that, because don't be sure that they will reply, because it happens. Generally, they do not reply. So yeah, you can, if you have, as you said, someone referred you, you can make them ask them, the recruiter. But yeah, like it happens generally. People do not get back. It happens.
I think we'll take last one or two questions, and I think it's almost time as well. So do you want to just quickly one person answer this question? I feel like it's a good question.
Yeah, it definitely helps because I have saw a lot of jobs that require people to have experience with AWS or Azure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more the efforts you put in, and not just the certificates.
Also, this
Yeah, go on, Chetan. That's the best.
do you mean just asking about that you've applied for the position and you want to let them know, or you also want to ask them assistance in reviewing your resume or something like that? Not sure. Would you ask a recruiter to review your resume or something like that?
I don't think I've never done that. I don't know if people do that in general. I think people like ask like other people and make sure it's fine before and get tips from them. And I don't think recruiters really used to review your resume.
Yeah, I mean that should be the last place, right? I mean, you do not review from the recruiter. Yeah.
Right. All right. So this was definitely a very valuable session. I think we still have a ton of comments, but we are out of time. But thank you so much to each and every one of you for taking out your time. This was a long session. It was 1.5 hours. So thank you for helping everyone out here. And everyone who's watching, thank you to you as well for these questions. And if you want to get mentorship from one of them, do post your key takeaways and tag Scholarship Track. And I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to give feedback to any one of them as well, because I'm sure they'll enjoy those lovely messages. And thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
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 Bye.